Secrets of the Ancient Ruins. A treasure hunt adventure. The mysterious map. The air inside Amelia River's study was thick with dust and the scent of ancient parchment. Her desk, illuminated by the waning afternoon sun, was cluttered with papers, maps, and relics from her many expeditions. But it was a single, fragile map fragment, passed down through her family for generations, that now held her attention. It was said to lead to a treasure hidden deep in the uncharted Eldrian jungle, a place where few had ventured and none had returned. The map's markings were unlike anything Amelia had seen before. Cryptic symbols and strange geographical features she could barely make out. Her heart raced as her fingers traced the ancient parchment. For years, she had pursued myths and legends, searching for a story that could change the course of history. And now, here it was right in front of her. She leaned back, exhaling slowly, when a knock sounded on the door. Her childhood friend and fellow adventurer, Sam Blackwood, sauntered in, boots caked in mud from his latest trek through the Scottish Highlands. "Let me guess, still chasing ghosts?" he asked, grinning as he tossed his jacket over a chair. Amelia didn't even look up, her eyes fixed on the map. "Not ghosts this time, Sam. This is real. This is the map." Sam's grin faded as he joined her by the desk. He knew Amelia's obsession with ancient history and treasure hunts wasn't a passing fancy. It was her life's work. "What's so special about this one?" Amelia turned the map toward him. "It's the map to the lost city of Arathorn, a civilization that vanished without a trace over 1,000 years ago. And legend says they left behind a treasure that could change the world." Sam raised an eyebrow. "Change the world, how?" Amelia paused. "It's not just gold and jewels. It's knowledge. The wisdom of an ancient people whose technology and understanding of the world was centuries ahead of its time. Whoever holds this treasure could have the power to reshape civilizations." Sam stared at the map for a long moment before sighing and shaking his head. "Well then, I guess we're going to the jungle. The journey into the Eldrian jungle." 2 weeks later, Amelia and Sam stood at the edge of the Eldrian jungle, an endless stretch of dense, tangled wilderness. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of the jungle, buzzing insects, distant bird calls, and the occasional growl of an unseen predator, set their nerves on edge. "This place gives me the creeps," Sam muttered, wiping the sweat from his brow. "You sure about this, Amelia?" Amelia adjusted the straps of her backpack and took a deep breath. "We've come too far to turn back now." Their guide, an old man named Santiago who had lived on the outskirts of the jungle his entire life, approached them. "You must be careful," he warned, his voice low and gravelly. "The jungle does not like strangers. Many have gone in seeking treasure, but none have returned." Amelia gave him a determined nod. "We're prepared." Santiago shook his head but said no more. He handed them a small wooden talisman carved with strange symbols. "For protection," he said cryptically before disappearing into the misty jungle, leaving them alone at the threshold of the unknown. For days, they trekked through the thick underbrush, navigating dense foliage, sweltering heat, and relentless rainstorms. The jungle seemed alive, its every shadow hiding a new danger. Poisonous snakes, deadly insects, and deep pits camouflaged by leaves. At night, they camped in clearings, listening to the eerie cries of animals and the rustling of leaves that hinted at something lurking just beyond their campfire's glow. Despite the hardships, Amelia remained focused. She carefully compared the map to their surroundings, marking off landmarks and adjusting their course. Every step brought them closer to the ruins. And with each passing day, Sam's skepticism faded, replaced by a growing sense of awe at the mystery that surrounded them. On the 6th day, they stumbled upon an ancient stone pillar half buried in the undergrowth. Carved into its surface were the same symbols from the map. Sam knelt beside it, brushing away vines. "This is it, isn't it?" Amelia nodded, her heart racing. "We're close. The awakening of the ruins." The next morning, they found the entrance to the ancient city. Hidden within a valley and shrouded by towering trees, The ruins of Arathorn rose from the jungle like the skeleton of a forgotten giant. Massive stone structures, covered in moss and vines, stretched toward the sky. Intricate carvings of long-forgotten gods and celestial constellations adorned the walls, and enormous stone guardians stood sentinel at the city's gates. This place, it's incredible, Sam breathed, his voice filled with awe. How could something this big stay hidden for so long? Amelia's eyes shone with excitement. The jungle protects its secrets. As they ventured deeper into the city, the air grew colder, and the silence became oppressive. The only sound was the echo of their footsteps on the stone streets. They passed crumbling temples, once great statues that had fallen into disrepair, and abandoned homes that had not seen life in centuries. At the center of the city stood a massive ziggurat, its steps worn smooth by the passage of time. Amelia felt a strange pull toward it, as if the answers she sought lay within its ancient walls. As they climbed the stairs, a strange sensation washed over them, a tingling in the air, like static before a storm. The stone guardians at the base of the ziggurat seemed to watch them with unseeing eyes, and the carvings on the walls shifted subtly, as if they were alive. At the top, they found a massive stone door, covered in intricate carvings and symbols. Amelia studied it closely. "It's a riddle," she said, her fingers tracing the symbols. "The door won't open until we solve it." The inscription was in an ancient language Amelia had spent years studying. "Only those who seek knowledge for its own sake, and not for greed, may enter," she translated aloud. Sam frowned. "How do we prove that?" Amelia's mind raced. "The Guardians are testing us. We have to show them that we're here for the right reasons." They each placed their hands on the door, and Amelia whispered a prayer to the long-forgotten gods of Arathorn. Slowly, the stone door groaned and began to move. As it opened, a gust of cold air rushed out, and the faint glow of torchlight illuminated the path beyond. The trials of Arathorn. The passage led them deep into the heart of the ziggurat, where the ancient builders had constructed a series of trials designed to test the mettle of anyone who sought the treasure. The first trial was one of knowledge. The walls of the chamber were covered in thousands of symbols and writings from dozens of different languages and civilizations. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which lay a single scroll. The challenge was clear: decipher the scroll or be trapped within the room forever. Amelia worked quickly, using her knowledge of ancient scripts and languages to piece together the meaning of the text. After what felt like hours, she spoke the final word aloud, and the door to the next chamber opened with a loud crack. The second trial tested their courage. The chamber was filled with traps, spikes that shot from the walls, collapsing floors, and hidden dangers at every turn. Sam took the lead, using his instincts and quick reflexes to guide them through the perilous maze. The third and final trial was one of sacrifice. At the center of the room stood a large stone altar, and above it hung a shimmering golden key. Inscribed on the walls were the words, "Only those willing to sacrifice what they hold most dear may claim the key." Amelia hesitated. "What does it mean?" Sam looked at her, then at the key. "It means one of us has to give up something important, something personal." After a long pause, Amelia took off the necklace she always wore, a simple silver pendant that had belonged to her mother. It was her most prized possession, the last connection she had to her family. With trembling hands, she placed the necklace on the altar. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flash of light, the key descended into her hands, and the final door opened. The heart of the treasure. Beyond the door lay the heart of the ruins, a grand chamber filled with treasures beyond their wildest dreams. Gold coins, jewels, and ancient artifacts were piled high, glittering in the torchlight. But it wasn't the wealth that caught Amelia's attention. It was a large, ornate chest at the center of the room, covered in strange symbols and glowing faintly with a soft, blue light. "This is it," Amelia whispered, stepping forward. "The treasure of Arathorn." With trembling hands, she opened the chest. Inside was not gold or jewels, but something far more valuable: An ancient scroll, its delicate parchment inscribed with the knowledge of a lost civilization. As she unrolled it, her eyes widened in amazement. It was a record of Arathorn's greatest secrets, an account of their technology, their understanding of the stars, and their most powerful discoveries. This could change everything, Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. It's not just treasure. It's the knowledge of an entire civilization. Sam stared at the scroll, then at the piles of gold. But what do we do with it? Amelia smiled. We protect it. This knowledge is too powerful to fall into the wrong hands. As they left the chamber, Amelia and Sam knew their journey was far from over. They had uncovered the secrets of Arathorn, but the world would not be so quick to let such powerful knowledge remain hidden. Forces far greater than they could imagine would soon come looking for them, and the real adventure had only just begun. The final choice. As Amelia and Sam stood at the mouth of the ancient chamber, holding the scroll that contained the lost knowledge of Arathorn, a sense of awe and responsibility settled over them. The treasure they had uncovered wasn't the gold or jewels that filled the room. It was the understanding of an entire civilization, knowledge that could reshape the future of humanity. Yet, this knowledge came with an immense burden. Amelia rolled the scroll back carefully, tucking it into her pack. We can't let this fall into the wrong hands, she said softly. There are people out there who would misuse this power. Sam glanced back at the piles of gold, the jewels sparkling temptingly in the faint light of their torches. You're really going to leave all this behind? After everything we've been through? Amelia smiled faintly. Gold fades, Sam. Kingdoms rise and fall. Fortunes disappear. But knowledge lasts. We didn't come here for wealth. We came for something bigger. As they turned to leave, the ruins seemed to stir. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the walls groaned as if the city itself was reacting to their decision. Stones began to shift, and a low rumble echoed through the ancient corridors. The temple's collapsing, Sam shouted, grabbing Amelia's arm. We need to get out of here now. They bolted through the corridors, navigating the labyrinthine tunnels as the ruins crumbled around them. The ground shook violently, and pieces of the ceiling fell like deadly missiles. The jungle outside was a distant blur as they raced against time, the roar of destruction hot on their heels. With a final leap, they tumbled out of the collapsing temple just as the entire structure caved in behind them. Dust and debris filled the air, and for a moment, all they could hear was the sound of their own ragged breathing. The ancient city of Arathorn had once again disappeared beneath the earth, its secrets buried for eternity, except for the one scroll they carried. As the dust settled, Amelia lay on her back, staring up at the sky, which was now painted with the soft hues of dawn. The jungle was eerily quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. We made it, Sam gasped, lying beside her. But just barely. Amelia sat up slowly, pulling the scroll from her pack and gazing at it with a mixture of reverence and uncertainty. We have the knowledge of an entire civilization in our hands, she murmured. What we do next will change everything. Sam, catching his breath, sat up too, his usual bravado replaced by solemnity. So, what's the plan? We can't exactly keep something like this hidden forever. Amelia thought for a moment, her mind racing through the possibilities. We'll have to be careful. We can't just hand this over to a museum or a government. The power in these pages could start wars, change the balance of the world. There are people, powerful people, who would kill for this. Sam nodded. Then what? Do we destroy it? Amelia shook her head. No, the knowledge is too important. We need to protect it, keep it safe until we find the right people. People who can use it for good, not for power. Sam looked at her, his expression serious. That's a big risk, Amelia. The world's not kind to people who hold that much power. I know, she said, her voice quiet but firm. But if there's one thing I've learned from all of this, it's that knowledge is the greatest treasure of all. It belongs to the world, but only when the world is ready for it. They stood in silence for a long moment, the weight of their discovery heavy between them. The ruins had collapsed, the treasure lost once more to the ages. But the true gift, the wisdom of Arathorn, now rested with them. Amelia and Sam made their way back to the edge of the jungle, the sun rising behind them, casting long shadows across the misty foliage. Their adventure had come to an end, but a new journey was just beginning. They were no longer mere treasure hunters. They were guardians of a secret that could change the course of history. As they disappeared into the jungle, the ancient city of Arathorn lay in silence once more, its secrets buried beneath time. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of the world, forces were stirring. People who would stop at nothing to uncover what Amelia and Sam had found. But for now, the knowledge was safe and the adventure continued. The final chapter gives closure to Amelia and Sam's immediate journey while setting the stage for future challenges. They choose to protect the knowledge rather than seek personal gain. And while their adventure in the ruins is over, the responsibility they've taken on ensures that their story is far from finished.